And then now it's asking for a password. Now, this is the one that by default requires you to actually have a complex password as well.
Okay.
So this one is going to be Cisco, but with a capital C.
Okay.
Don't hit enter yet. Yep.
Okay.
And you ready to type that in?
Yep.
Okay. And then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and an exclamation point. If I told you right. Now, it looks like it's thinking about it, so I may not have told you. So let's try it again. So let's do Cisco.
Well, I
Or
would not.
wait, hold on. That's
But is that the right password? We'll check it out now.
Yes, that is the right password.
Let's try that again.
If that one doesn't work, that means I didn't give you the right username, but we'll find out here in a moment.
All right. Well, I wouldn't put it past the user error here. There we go. Yes,
okay.
Perfect.
So now, notice that you're in here, and we've got a lot of information there because it's saying, hey, look, this is strictly used for evaluation or demonstration. No big deal here. Let's type in show version again.
Okay.
Let's see what we get this time, okay?
All right.
So once again, at the very top, you actually end up seeing, there it is, the Nexus operating system. So that helps us to identify this. And you can even see it about middle of the screen there, where it actually tells us, hey, this is a demo version. This is not full version here that we're actually seeing. Now, let's go ahead and hit our space bar all the way down to the bottom again.
Okay.
And let's try the same thing, show version. And just like we did, okay? So that one actually works. Let's go ahead and see if we can do the show inventory this time.
Sure.
I forgot that we already ran show version. That's why I did that.
Let's try that one. There we go.
Yeah. So notice there's a lot more information here. They even show one like a supervisors in slot 1. They show the idea of the Ethernet module in slot 2, the other Ethernet modules. So each of these would actually be populated differently depending on what we actually really had. But notice that the only one that we really have, only the first 3 do we really have anything up there.
So very scalable on these, you said, because in data centers, so not high availability, high bandwidth, large scalability.
Yeah. Now let's do something a little bit different here. Type in show space IP. And then INT, we're going to do abbreviation here, space brief, BR, yep. And nothing, all right, so that's fine. It's saying, hey, nothing's actually configured, but let's do this. Let's type in show run, or show running config.
Running config, okay.
And go ahead and hit your space bar again and keep going.
Okay.
And look, there's actually interfaces there. Keep going.
Okay.
Keep going.
All right.
Keep going. Keep going.
I think this is a big switch, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty big switch, so you might see something like that as well.
Okay.
But notice they actually have a lot of information there. The MAC address is showing for each one. It tells you that this is, when you see no switch port, it means it's a routed port working in our configuration here. This one goes all the way down to Ethernet 4/48 is what we actually end up seeing. So there's a lot of different ones that are here, okay? So that is our third one, just to give you an example of what you see. But Wes, it doesn't really seem any more complicated than the iOS.
No, other than the fact that I can't type. No, it's pretty much the same when it comes to the login.
All right, so let's do our fourth one here.
Okay, last one. I wish I could tell you which one this is, Ronnie, but this one isn't really letting me know much.
Oh, yeah. This one's a little bit stranger here, isn't it?
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and type in Cisco.
Okay.
And this one doesn't require any password complexity. And then Cisco. Unless I got it wrong. All right. Now, Wes, it looks a little bit different, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
Yeah. So now we're actually saying, hey, this actually may be a little bit different than what we're actually used to.
These routing ports? These wouldn't be routing. What's the RP stand for?
Yeah, that one is, now that you ask, I can't really remember off the top of my head, but they stand for the different slots that are actually available in there. So that's what you actually see. But it may be a routed port for all I know, but just kind of realize this one's a little bit different. And then, of course, that latest one there says CPU, that's actually saying on the chassis is what we're also seeing there too. Okay. Now, let's type in show version. And let's see what it actually gives us. What does it give us there?
iOS XR?
Yep, iOS XR is what it actually tells us.
6.3.6 or 0.1.
Yeah, now this one we'll more than likely find inside of a service provider. I couldn't remember what the name was. The service provider is what we'll actually end up seeing here. So that's probably what it's designed for. Okay, it's optimized inside of that server that service provider environment, and that means it's highly scalable. You can continue to add stuff in there. And the neat thing is, Wes, because it's a service provider level type when we're running the iOS XR, we're expecting it to even upgrade while the thing is still on.
I'll tell you some things I noticed right away here is that it does have a form of Linux under there. At least the bootloader is Grub. And the other thing I noticed too is that it's running Pentium Celeron processor.
Yeah.
Which is different, because while we're talking about ASICs, this is a specific CPU line.
Right. And that's because everything is pretty much done in the ASICs, and so it doesn't really matter what the general processor is too much.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so that's what we end up seeing. Now, the other thing that you can also, of course, see here as you continue through, notice configuration register. Oops, it doesn't. Let's see if we can go back. I don't know if we can find it exactly. Oh, yeah, configuration register right about in the middle of the screen there, where you see, it's on Node, and it tells you kind of that same format that you actually end up seeing. That this is kind of the base model. And there's that 0102, which we told you was the standard one that we normally see. The disk there that we see, of course, is the regular hardware of the flash that we're normally taking a look at. And then, of course, all the other things that you see. Now, the reason why this is important is that there's different functionalities in the iOS XR that you can enable and disable as you need to without ever having to actually turn the thing off. Okay. So a lot of that actually is going to work. Let's go ahead and let's type in another command here at the bottom as we go on through. And this time, let's do show environment. Okay. Let's try and make sure I read that right as well. Let's see if it lets us do that one. It may not. Environment. See, this is where the virtualization side says, yeah, I'm not going to actually show that one. Let's see if the other one will actually work here. Let's type in show platform. Let's see if it allows us to do that. Nope. Yep. It says it's there. Okay. So there it is. It actually does show us the idea of the platform, and that's the node that it's on. Okay. And then, of course, the type. It shows us some different things, but Wes, again, no real difference. This shouldn't cause us any consternation to actually be able to get some information.
Yeah. I mean, the text is a little bit different, but as far as the output, the look, I wouldn't really know the difference.
Yeah, so you might be wondering, like, why did I emphasize this? Because you're going to encounter them, and you might go, this is a little bit scary, but Wes, what did we find out?
It's really all the same. You just have to know the environment you're in.
Yeah, the environment, but we did see, like, underlying, right? Yeah. There are differences that are out there. They're optimized for different types of environment and different types of usages. Sure. Unless you're really, really, your business is going so well, you decide to go for iOS XR routers, you're probably going to spend a house payment or more. Well, let's say maybe a whole year's of house payment.
Extra real estate, probably.
It's a lot. Yeah. Now you're starting to talk about cost, right? Okay. The iOS is probably the most, cost efficient of them all. But it doesn't always suit the purposes that we need. So just realize you might see different ones that are out there. But the great thing is, if you know a basic set of commands, you can probably go ahead and work with them and not even really worry too much about it, regardless of whether it's a couple of $1,000 switch or a $20,000 switch. Ooh. Yeah.
All right. Very good. So in this episode, remember that we got to look at, the different types of iOSs, plenty of them out there. And, when you get into them, not a lot of difference in the interface, but certainly a lot of difference in the functionality. So be able to recognize that for your CCT exam. Speaking of CCT, we've got a lot more exciting content. Not enough time in this episode, so stay tuned.
Thank you for watching IT Pro TV.